Okay, back to our inheritance UML diagram. We have seen the parents class. So now let's take a look at the subclasses. We're going to look at the book subclass first. In this book, we have the additional attribute called is requested. So when someone requests for the book, this is requested will have to change its status. You have to update the status. Now, how do you create the subclass? Just use class book, but this time around, you have to put in the library item. Now, this shows that the subclass book inherits from the superclass library item. And then for the constructor, same thing, you need the three argument, the title, author, artist, and the item ID. You only need to include all the additional getters or modifiers. Okay, so we have the get is requested, and then also the modifier, which is the request, and the utility for the display. Now I will talk about more about this display because it's different from the parents display later on. Now let's take a look at the constructor for the subclass book. When you create the book object, you need to provide three arguments: title, author, artist, and the item ID. So in your constructor for the subclass, under the init, the bracket, with the first parameter self and then followed by three arguments. So that when you instantiate, let's say item 2, instantiate it as a book object for this particular title called Baby Book, written by Mary, who is the author, and then the ISBN or the book, the item ID, BAB002. Now you need to pass these three arguments to the parents class. Okay, so we use the super dot underscore underscore init and pass the three arguments to the superclass. Now once you pass these three items to the superclass, the other three attributes on loan, due date, on loan and due date will be generated by the parents class. Okay, because these are the attribute that is already available in the parents class. For the is requested attribute, it will have to be created in the subclass here. So we need to define self.isRequested equal to false, because when you first create the book object, it has not yet been requested. So it is false. Now the object created by the book subclass inherits all the attributes and methods from the parents class. So we can use the get title, get author, get item ID, get own loan, get a due date, even use the borrowing method and also the display method. We can also check whether item 2 is it a book object by using this is instance. And when it returns true, it shows that item 2 is indeed a book object. You can also check that item 2 is also a library item. Now then you have the assessor and the modifier for the subclass book. The assessor as a get is requested. Initially it is set as false, and then when a user requests for a particular book, this is requested can be set to true. So the request is actually a modifier. So when you call on this request method, there is no outputs. It merely changes the status for this is requested. And when you use the get is requested, it will turn out to be true. But you realize that if you call on the display, it does not show the information about this attribute is requested, because the display method is from the parents class. We will talk more about writing the code for this display method for the subclass when we learn about polymorphism. We have seen the parents class and also the subclass book. Now let's take a look at the subclass CD. Subclass CD has a additional attribute called genre, and then also have a method called display, which will behave slightly different from the parents class. In our Python code, the first line class a CD inheriting from the library item. Okay. When we use the constructor in the subclass, we will need to provide three arguments, namely the title, author and artist, and the item ID. So that when we instantiate, for example, item 3 to be a CD object, and this CD object has the title of piano collections, that's the title for the CD, and then the artist, Richard, and then the CD ID. All these three argument is being passed to the parents class using super dot underscore underscore init. And when it's being passed to the parents class, the other two attribute, which is the on loan and the due date, will be created. Genre, the parents class do not have the attribute called genre, so it has to be created in the subclass here. When you first create the CD object, the genre is left empty, so we use an empty string. Same thing, the CD object inherits all the attributes and the methods from the parents class, so you can use all the get title, get author, get item ID, get on loan status, get due date, even use the borrowing and the display. You will see that it doesn't show the genre over here because the parents class display method do not have the attribute genre. Now we can check whether item 3, which is a CD object, is it a book object? The answer is no, so it's false. Okay, item 3, check whether is it a CD object? The answer is true. Is item 3 a CD object also a library item? The answer is true. Then we have the assessor and the modifier for the subclass CD to get the genre and then also to modify the genre. Now, whenever you modify the genre, you must provide the what is the genre that you want it to be replaced to. So, for example, our item 3, when it's first created, the genre is left empty. So when we get the genre is an empty string. Now we set the genre to contemporary, okay? And then when we try to get the genre again, now this time around it shows the contemporary which has been updated. Then again, when we use the display, it doesn't show the genre, and we will deal with this during when we learn polymorphism. Now you need to note that the classes cannot access each other's attribute and methods. So item 1 is a library item, item 2 is a book library item object, sorry. Item 2 is a book object, item 3 is a CD object. Now, if you were to run item 1 and get genre, item 1 is a library item. There is no such attribute, get genre. Okay, so if you try to run the other methods on a wrong object, then you will get all the error messages.